Number one. Second one, construct a robust UAV network that can solve connection disruption problem. So you have to ensure that, whatever connection you are providing, it has to be rugged, it has to be robust and seamless. Third is design an alert system to alert users about the emergency network, which we thought of to create by an application, a mobile application. And the fourth one was to improve the network coverage. That was the thing which we thought to implement. And you have seen the video. Now, this is the architecture that we have followed. The architecture, what you see is, here is your MAP or the mobile access points, right? So they are hopping or they are communicating with each other. Now, while they are communicating with each other, there are two issues. I'll just go back. There are two issues. First is one UAV, which is you are deploying, it has to connect with the network as well as it has to connect with another UAV. So that's the challenge, right? That's a challenge, design challenge. How we can ensure that one UAV will be communicating two ways, one with the swarm drone and then another with the main backhaul or the backbone, right? So that was the challenge. Therefore, you see here, we are placing these MAPs in such a manner that it can cover this entire geographical area. And one of the MAP, we call it as a master, which will be connected to the access point, right? The static access point, which could be any access point. The technology which we work was, using Wi-Fi. It could be WiMAX, it could be Zigbee, it could be any other communication network. But for our case, we have used Wi-Fi because of certain advantages of Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is more stable, the latency is very low, and it has, we have that accessibility to Wi-Fi in the campus, right? So we chose Wi-Fi as the communicating architecture, communication protocol for our particular case study, right? And we have used Raspberry Pi for this processing unit. So what we have done is we have done this entire protocol stack on top of Raspberry Pi in order to, exercise this entire task, right? So their task is twofold. One is to communicate with each other as well as they have to provide network access to the users. So there will be data from the users that will be relayed from this to the router, as well as there will be intercommunication between the UAV. So there are intricacies involved in this particular issue, and that's what the challenge was, right? As far as the system architecture is concerned, we have used a quadcopter, as you have seen in the video, that they have four propellers, right? So they have four motors, they are serving these propellers, and these are the electronic components which we have used. We have used PICSOC as the flight controller, we have used Raspberry Pi as the processing unit, and we have embedded this entire thing on top of this flying drone. Some of the components are of this drone are, plastic components are designed in the 3D printing facility which is available. So most of these things are individually brought, and they were assembled in the lab, including the flight control algorithms and everything, right? And this is the situation. This is the thing which, the mobile access points are configured with. And you can see here that why we have used Wi-Fi. We just have put some issues that if you can use Pico base stations, you can use WiMAX, right? The range of WiMAX could be higher, right? But you need to have a dedicated receiver for this, right? So instead of that, what we have observed is, if you are choosing Wi-Fi for this experimental purposes, the range is certainly restricted to 300 meter, but the cost is too low, as well as, it can offer a large number of users by one channel and one set, and then the pre-requirement is, relaxed. So that was most convenient for us for, to use this Wi-Fi as part of this communication technology. Now let us see the design perspective. So this was the challenge, right? So the challenge was dual wireless interface, synchronization between these access points, the mobile access points, intelligent MAP designed for auto reconnect and re-establish of network, right? Because you see, if one UAV is going out of the location by any means, the entire swarm has to move in such a manner that all the nodes being connected, right? And basically they follow a particular coordinate system with the master, right? If the master changes, then the slave accordingly changing itself based on the signal strength received, right? So there is a continuous signal strength calculation that has been observed from the received signal of these nodes, right? And based on that, it calculates the distances, and thereafter it decides whether to move forward or backward or down, right? And then challenge number 4 was required to design a user-friendly platform to alert the survivors. And as I was telling, this was meant for a particular application, and we extend the Wi-Fi network because of the availability. Now, how to deal with the challenge number 1? This is what we have done to solve challenge number 1. We have used 2 nodes. Now, Raspberry Pi 3 Model B Plus has IoT Wi-Fi feature with provisions for supporting access points and client configuration simultaneously, right? So we have used that particular configuration in order to we have configured this in order to connect the access point as well as to the other nodes, right? So these nodes are configured in such a manner. So for example, the master node is configured to connect the other LAN, WLAN, as well as it has to connect with the access point, the static access point, right? And this way. All right. So here what you can see is that there is a user which is connected to this Raspberry Pi number 2 #2, which is accessed by this WLAN 1 of this particular board, and then it relays the data, right? So it relays the data in this manner, right? So that data is reaching to the access point in this manner. Okay, so this way the problem was solved, and you can use any model. I mean, Raspberry Pi was used at that time because of the conveniences and the support what we have. You can use any processing device, either an EPS, ESPs, or any microcontroller as such. Right, this is the algorithm. I'm not going to discuss this entire algorithm because it's specific. And now the synchronization problem. Again, the synchronization is solved using the Pursue mobility model, right? What we have done is the collision avoidance and network connectivity constraints are added here, and master drone will take off first in this model and observe the slave hotspot RSSI values, right? It keeps a distance so that the measured RSSI value will be above a certain threshold level. Simultaneously, master drone share its coordinates with its slaves, right? So one master node, once it is deployed, then it will having a communication between slaves. So slave 1 will first go to its predefined location, then slave 2 will depart, and so on. So in this manner, we have designed our network with 3 nodes, 1 master and 2 slave. This is the algorithm by which the master slave coordination was done, where you can see that the master is in auto mode, whereas the slave is guided through a guided mode, right? Because the slave has to follow the master, so it has to follow certain constraints, and those constraints were calculated on board, and in order to keep this distance, in order to keep this this entire swarm network goes. The issue of, there are some issues which were actually solved. Say for example, you see here in figure number B, yeah, so in case of disaster, in the disaster region, it may happen due to damage to MAP or due to any malfunctioning of any module. There is a disruption in the Wi-Fi connection. So each RPI must be intelligent enough to reconnect an SSID and re-establish the network. For example, here in this case, this was damaged, right? So there would be any outside AP which is having direct connection to the SAP. So there should be some intelligence in the algorithm which will run here in map 3, which will make itself able to connect to any other open authenticated system, right? So it must not, it must not go like a vagabond. It should find any other network in the vicinity, and if it is getting other network in the vicinity, it will try to connect. So that algorithm is also established in individual nodes as well. Third, second point, that was called auto reconnection problem. And what we try to do is, if any node is damaged, we try to keep our MAPs in the same network by reorienting themselves in such a manner that they get the coverage, or they get the coverage of the other nodes which are available in the vicinity, right? So they should not fall in the outage. So what we have done is, once during an auto reconnection, RPI scans the available beacon frame. So there is a beacon frame which is sent at particular instances of time, and creates SSID list descending order according to the RSSI value. The priority will be given to the list of WIND SSID. Once the SSID list is prepared, RPI tries to connect the SSID one after another and simultaneously pings the RCC IP address to check if the select ICC is correct or not. So first what we have done is, this MAP3 will search for the same SSID because it is in the same network. So if it gets any SSID beacon from this network, it will select this instead of others. Once it gets the ID of the previous network, it will try to connect itself first with this network, and subsequently all other nodes will be updated and reoriented accordingly. So these are the two practical problems which we faced during this implementation, and we have solved in this manner. The algorithm and the programming was done in such a manner that it could do the real-time application as well. Moving next, where is next? Yeah, so these are some of the statistics which we have received from this. This is nothing but the experimentation of two kinds of network. One is a TCP network, the other one is UDP network. So we have tried to understand how our entire system works in both the networks at two different frequencies. We have Wi-Fi working 2.4 and 5.1. So we have experimented this thing in both the bands 2.4 and 5.1, and I try to understand like what are the performance, in various scenarios, right? What is the TCP throughput for both the cases in TCP and UDP with respect to the distance, right? So we have got that 2.4 gigahertz. This is the 2.4 gigahertz scenario where you can see that TCP is having, this is the TCP one, this is the UDP one. So initially the UDP is offering higher value of throughput, certainly because UDP is a system where there is no acknowledgement kind of scenario, so the throughput is going to be high. But as long as the distance is higher, right, so UDP will have a higher packet losses, so TCP will outperform for a longer distance kind of thing, right? So both the things are having their limitations and advantages. We also perform the same thing for 5 gigahertz band, as I have told, and we have used 3 band application 20, 40, 80 because these are the bandwidth that are drafted in that Wi-Fi and LTE bands. So that's why we have used 20, 40 and 80 megahertz applications as well, right? So these are the case studies of what we have done in this particular experimentation. Okay, so I think we can move. This is the experimental setup. You can see how we have done this experimental setup. This is a particular map on the plot at the institution level. Now this experiment, what we have done is in collaboration with IIT Kharagpur. One project was there with IIT Kharagpur. So the location what you have seen in the video is the campus of IIT Kharagpur near the GSST, GSNL School of Telecommunication. Okay, so that was the thing which I thought I should discuss with you regarding implementation of such as architecture, such a flying base station architecture for UAV communication. Now, talking about challenges, one of the primary challenge that what we have encountered was the 3D deployment, the deployment of the UAVs, right? You can understand that in order to cover a geographical area, where to place an UAV is always an open problem, right? Because the user demand, the user concentration, user behavior, there are a lot of factors that are associated with it, right? So here, the UAV planning or deployment of UAVs is a challenge, right? So optimal location of UAV for improved coverage and capacity of public safety network is a very important component, and we have to address that. And also that has to accept the minimum energy consumption scenario. So not only optimal location of UAV for improved coverage and capacity, you also have to take care about the minimum energy consumption of the scenario, right? And so in order to do that, you have to create a particular function, right, which will cater these three requirements in such a manner that everything is satisfied and the quality of service at least to the users are satisfied. Now there are two scenarios. In one scenario you can see where there are no blackout zones. Like these are the cells, right? These are the cell boundaries, right? So this is the deployment. The red dots are the MBS or the mobile base stations or the flying base stations, and these are the coverage area at any particular instant of time. So you can understand the complexity of this particular issue. Now there might be another application issue or application case where there are a number of cells. These are under blackout area, right? So how to cater this blackout area by having an optimal planning of UAV is also a very important challenge. So here what we have tried to sort out is how we can design an algorithm by which we can deploy an optimal numbers of UAVs, right? So we call it as optimal deployment in terms of coverage area, user association, and energy constraint, right? So there are three basic components involved into it, right? So based on that, I'm not going into this formulation of this objective function, but because those who has done some work under this area will be able to recognize those functions. So I will just quickly go into the details which we have observed, right? So we have implemented one novel algorithm called FCM HDL, right? HDL is an hybrid optimization algorithm we have designed for fast decision making, right? And we have included fuzzy clustering means along with HDL in order to deploy, in order to have an optimal deployment of UAVs under certain situations. All right. So here some of the results which I just would like to show you quickly. So this is the sum capacity, and whatever we have proposed in one of the work, we have been able to observe a fairly good result in terms of sum capacity, in terms of some log rates, in a particular area. So we have taken a 5 kilometer or 5 kilometer area, and we also have fixed up the data rates, like 75 kilo Kbps is the downlink data rate. We have used bandwidth as 5 megahertz, and the operating frequency was in the band of 700 megahertz. Now why you have used 700 megahertz? There is a background study behind it. In India, we don't have any disaster communication frequency. Like in many countries, they have a specific frequency where whenever there is a disaster, that frequency is actually triggered. But in India, we don't have any specific disaster communication frequency. So we have proposed two frequencies while in 2019 200 megahertz and 700 megahertz. 200 megahertz was free. 700 megahertz is not free. After the 4G implementation, it comes under the LTE band. So this is not falling under free. But 700 megahertz is still a band which is available in LTE. So 700 megahertz is suitable, and in many countries, what we have surveyed, in many countries this band is used for disaster communication. So we also propose that 700 megahertz should also be considered as one of the communication frequency during disaster. So that's why we have used 700 megahertz in this, and these are the results which we obtained for this particular protocol or algorithm. This algorithm is FCMHTEL. It's a specific algorithm we designed for UAV deployment. I'll show you the results in such in one instance. We also have done an experimentation on 1800 megahertz also. So this is one of the case studies where you can see the algorithm tells us that if this is the scenario, then this will be the cell deployment situation, right? Now these blue dots are the UAVs, and the number associated with that blue dot is the height in meter, which is, the object or the UAV has to be located with, right? So this algorithm tells us an optimal 3D deployment of these UAVs under this presented situation, where we have used 2000 users. We have done this. The experimentation is done with 20 megahertz bandwidth in an area of 5 cross 5 kilometer, and the band was 1800 megahertz band. So there are 17 number of UAV required to cover this entire area for this particular case. The next step that was with us was how to cover an area which is under disaster. For example, this area, we randomly identified this area as a blackout zone, right? Now we have invoked the algorithm in such a manner that how to cover this entire geographical area with an optimal deployment of some UAVs, so that minimum number of UAVs can cover this entire area. And algorithm suggests that if this is a large blackout zone, so we have around 8 UAVs that can cater the need of this entire area. Now when I say cater the need, means every individual users have certain demands, right? They have certain data rate, so you have to satisfy that data rate. So that data rate satisfaction is a part of the algorithm, right? And similarly, there could be two cases: one, a large area like this, or there might be two area like this, right? And then we also have done the similar kind of exercise on top of it and tried to see how the algorithm works in this area also. So it also fairly well in analyzing this kind of environment as well. All right. Now along with that, now as I told you, this is not a case only to understand the optimal locations, right? So this is optimal location, but where from you are going to send them. Say this is your deployment center, so you have to send this to this area, right? You have to send this to this area, so the drone will fly from one location, right? So as I told you, the trajectory optimization is also a very important factor, and in this case we also have taken care about the trajectory optimization to some extent. So we also done a trajectory optimization, and this is something which we have done in this study, in this investigation rather, where we would like to see how the trajectory of one UAV, right? So the time you are saying that you are sending one UAV, say this UAV is placed at the centroid of this particular area. Now the area which is covered by this, and the new UAV that are going to be deployed, they're dynamically locating themselves, right? So as soon as this UAV is moving towards its new location, its target location, this area is going to be changed dynamically along with this, right? So they are interdependent, depending with each other, right? So this is a dynamic kind of a scenario, and all the drones has to follow that dynamic mechanism, in order to satisfy the user cases, right? So you see here in the last case, after 2.5 minutes, what we observed in figure number D is, the location of this flying is something like that, right? So we may thought, if this is the target location, I can send this flying from directly this to this, but that is not the case. Why? Because this is not a single kind of a transmission of drone to a particular location. It is basically, a swarm of drone covering an entire geographical area while on the go, right? So every time a drone is, placed at a particular point, it is actually giving coverage to a particular area, right? So by providing coverage, it is, locating itself at the target location. So that's an interesting problem, and we have been able to solve a little of it, a part of it, and we have seen the trajectory optimization also in one of our investigation. And in all these cases, let me remind you that we have taken the user association, the coverage area, and the energy as the constraint. There could be n number of constraint into this, so your results are going to be different for all these cases, as you can understand. So this is the final result which we got after running it for 2.12 minutes, and this is at 1800 megahertz frequency band, right? So you can see the trajectories of the UAVs, right? So and they're finally placed at their target location. I will try to show you a particular video. Just a second. I will try to show you if it works. Yeah, it will work. Yeah, you can see this is the video which I coined from the runtime simulation. From this video, you can see that how the drones are actually locating themselves. Yeah, as you can see, you know, yeah, this so you can understand, how the drones are placing themselves, at this level, right? So this is what we have been able to, and this is the final result of the placement of the drones along with their heights, because this is a 3D deployment, right? So these are some of the findings that we have got. So this is the summary of what we have explained. I don't think this is required at this point of time. Now, yeah, any question? So instead of having a mono dialogue kind of a thing, let us have some discussion, or having any questions.
Yes, participants, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, I mean, no question doesn't mean that you didn't attend this. I mean, I'm sure you attended this. Yeah, many times we are contented with a lot of activities, no problem. So any query, anything you would like to ask me?
From participants' side, is there any question? You can directly ask your question to our expert. I think there is no question, sir.
Yeah, no problem. So I will just quickly
Sir,
finish.
sir,
Yeah,
I have one question, sir.
yeah, please,
In
please.
results and discussion in case one, sir,
Yeah,
most probably in that slide, a Duke network with interference. on that results graph, when distance is increases, so its performance is lowest. So, but before that, when distance was very low, that time the performance was in middle of with interference, without interference most probably. So what is the reason behind that suddenly that performance is decreases? What is the
Which
main
case?
cause?
Which case
Fast
you are
case, sir.
talking about?
Fast case, sir. Fast case.
First case. I'm just sharing it. You please point it out.
Yes, sir.
Is it this one?
Uh, yes, sir. This one.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So these
Fast,
are
fast.
the two. Yeah. The first one is with UDP. So
Yes,
UDP throughput. So there are two networks, right? So since we are using Wi-Fi network,
yes,
so
sir.
we are actually concerned about TCP, but there are UDP network also at that center. So we have been able to experiment with UDP network, right? So you see in both the cases when the distance is 20 meter, right? In TCP, if I say the without interference case 802.11n, if I make it large, so you can see here. So the red line, red dotted line is this one, right? Without
Yes, sir.
interferences, right?
Yes, sir.
And this one is the red. So if you compare both of this, you see in the initial phase up to 120 meter, the UDP is better, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
The
sir.
reason
Right.
is in TCP you have always an acknowledgement and non-acknowledgement data, right? In UDP, it is not something like that, right? It's all right. So in UDP, you need not to send the acknowledgement. The receiver does not send acknowledgement, and after receiving the acknowledgement, you are transmitting the next packet, right?
Yes, sir.
So in UDP, you don't have that acknowledgement packets, and that's why in the initial period, when the distance is low, the throughput is high. All right. As long as the
Okay.
distance is higher, right? In this case, the packet transmission is more reliable, right? So less number of packets are lost, so the throughput is enhanced. Whereas in UDP, since this is not a reliable kind of a thing, you don't have that acknowledgement thing, so a huge packet loss was observed. All
Okay.
right,
Because
and that's
because
the
of that losses, the performance is
from
decreases
the
with
throughput is
increases of.
reduced. The throughput is reduced.
Okay.
Yes, you got it correct.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, sir. That's all from my side, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question.
Okay, sir.
So I think we are already talking about more than 1.5 hours. So many of us are contented with the content. So let me just quickly give a indication about the research directions and challenges. If anyone is interested to work on, these are the possible areas where you have a lot of works, and drone is supposed to be the next promising technological solutions. So you can work on it. There are plenty of projects and plenty of applications that could be expected from this drone kind of an infrastructure, right? So these are the issues. Air to ground channel modeling, because without a proper channel modeling you cannot design the communication system. Optimal deployment of UAVs as flying base stations, as we have mentioned and discussed. It is always a problem to have an optimal location of the UAVs, right? Because there are many factors associated with it. Along with this, trajectory optimization is certainly a big issue, right? You not only need to find out the target location, but you also have to tell the UAV in which path it has to go in order to minimize the energy consumption and maximize the throughput, right? So there is always a trade-off between these two things, and trajectory optimization is going to be a very important factor, because there are plenty of terrain variabilities. If it's an urban area, there are a lot of high risers. If it's in a low urban area, there are low high risers. These high rise buildings are going to be a hindrance to the path of the UAVs for the low amplitude UAVs, right? So the model for urban area, the high rise model or the building model of the urban area is going to be different from the building model of the low urban area. In the high urban area, people are modeling this building heights as a Rayleigh distributed model, right? So that is going to affect the trajectory involvement of those UAVs, right, in respect to the low urban or the village or in some other areas, right? So you can understand that yes, trajectory optimization is a problem, right? And now you have to analyze the performances. Yeah. Yeah. Then we have cellular network planning and provisioning with UAVs. Now people are talking about UAVs, right? And located. Do we have a plan to have a proper charging stations at places? The answer is yes. If tomorrow there is an UAV communication, you have, maybe there is a possibility that you can be a probable I mean you are providing rent to the company that your roof can be used as a charging station. So they will install charging station on top of your roof, right? Because your hometown or your home is basically an optimal place for particular UAVs to work upon. So you have to design an optimal location of the charging stations as well, right? So it's a plan. Like whenever you are designing the cellular network, you also has to have that provision of charging stations and optimal deployment of them, right? Resource management and energy efficiency is always a problem in terrestrial communication, also in present day communication also. Energy has to be you have to have minimum energy kind of a communication, and UAV are energy limited devices, so it has to be very much, you have to be very much careful whenever we are working with UAVs, right? We have to target minimum energy protocols, minimum energy algorithms in every aspect of UAV communication, right? Starting from designing of the UAVs to consumption of the energy by the UAV for its flying, energy consumption by the transmission equipment, right? All these things should be minimum energy kind of a design, right? So there are a lot of challenges involved into it. And drone user equipments in wireless network, as I told you, drones could also be used as an user equipment, right? So there is a communication between drone to drone and so on. So this could also be an area where we have concerns. Now I just put these things into a table where I just uh, discuss the challenges and mathematical tools which are useful for that. I will share this slide. You can later on you can go through this thing. Uh, overall, if I say that if today you are working on UAV, you must have an idea about what are the mathematical tools, or what are the tools that are going to be very useful in case of UAV applications, right? So you have to know optimization theories, because a lot of optimization algorithms are involved into it. So those who are working in optimization algorithm may think of designing an optimization algorithm for UAV applications. That will be very interesting. And whenever any mathematical model is designed for engineering application, their acceptance is higher, right? So you may try, if anyone in this group, in this virtual space, is having a very good command over optimization theories, they can actually work on some of the algorithms which are meant for UAV communication. So uh, you can actually create a network with your communication friend, right? So basically UAV is an interdisciplinary research, and in its true sense. So you need a lot of activities. You need a mechanical engineer who understands the aerodynamics of the model, right? You need a communication engineer who knows the communication processes, and you also need to know this mathematical components, right? There are a lot of mathematics involved into it. So it's actually a very good interdisciplinary research area where you need to involve a lot of category of people, right? Now, machine learning is something which is very, very relevant, and uh, you can understand the application of machine learning and deep learning algorithms into wireless communication. If you find out 10 papers today, 4 to 5 papers are on machine learning, right? So machine learning is something which is going to create a huge factor in tomorrow's technology. So those who knew machine learning very well, they can apply their algorithms and logics in solving some of the pertinent and issues in UAV communication as well. I mean, they can apply. You can apply in any problem solution, but machine learning in wireless communication is a very new thing and is going to be a very promising area to work on, right? Transport theory is also very essential for UAV communication because transport theory is a complex theory which solves various complex problems in transportation. And you can understand that UAV can also be seen as a device, as a vehicle, right? So there are transportation issues, right? So there are complex issues which are involved, and transportation theory offers a very good flexibility in terms of designing its optimal placements. Similarly, stochastic geometry and game theory are also going to be very useful in order to, have a proper planning, cell planning, starting from cell planning to charging station planning, and so on. And and game theory always deals with the resource management, the profit loss kind of an of thing. So that is also is going to be very important because resource is very limited and you have to use it for very high demand applications, right? Well, this is by this I shall end, I think. Yeah, so with this I shall be ending my presentation, and now I shall be waiting for any further discussion if we have.
So, yeah, thank you so much, sir, for this valuable and wonderful talk regarding the UAV communications. So, I think the participants already got idea regarding this topic, and also who is working on this topic. So they got idea regarding this. What are the work already going on this topic? So I think I am hoping that they will get definitely they will get got benefited from this today's session. So yeah, if any participants have any questions regarding this, so they can ask. So as our speakers are also experts are is there. So if anyone have any queries or questions, they can ask here directly. Yes. Tasha sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I think no questions from
no
participants.
problem. That's okay. I understand. No issue.
So thank you, sir. Actually, as Puja holidays also going on, and reading this
Yes, yes.
also, you have accepted our invitations. So we are thankful to you, sir. And uh, and also, sir is sharing sir's mail ID. So if anyone have any queries, yeah, they can also send that queries to sir's mail ID. So that is already sir have written, shared. And yes, Tashir sir.
Yes, that's all. And we thank all the participants and our SARs who have accepted our request during this busy schedule. And the participants who are attending this short-term course during this Durga Puja. So we are very much thankful, both participants and our speakers.
Yeah, I must wish everyone a very happy puja. Today is Navami, Mahanavami. I wish everyone a very happy puja holidays. Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
sir.
you for inviting me.
Thank you for
I'm extremely glad to share some of the things which I thought will be helping people.
Yes, it's really it's enjoyable. I greatly enjoy these sessions. This looks like some new things in communication engineering are going to
Yes,
implement
yes.
very shortly.
There are many
So
things that are going to come. Certainly, if
yes,
I talk about any particular research topic, people will not be motivated. So I thought to give a overall orientation about this. So that is the reason.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you
This
very much.
this is very wonderful session, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So all the best. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So may I leave now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Harish, and thank you, Shanidul. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thanks.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir. And uh, dear participants, tomorrow we have uh, two session, morning session and afternoon session. In our morning session, our speaker from NIT Sikkim, and in afternoon session, another speakers. He's from Triple IT Guwahati. So I hope you people will be join on time and will be enjoy the session. And lastly, we on behalf of Madanpalli Institute of Technology, we thank you all the participants for joining over here in this vacation period. So thank you all and wishing you happy Durga Puja, all of you. Okay, Shani sir.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, we can end this session, sir, then. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You
Yeah.
can
Thank you
stop
all
the session
the
here.
participants. Thank you. Yes. Sir.
Sir.